I haven't. Okay, there we go. Well, good morning, Boker Tov, and we'll say the bracha. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, and we're on to Psalm 66, and I think this is a fairly lengthy psalm, actually. Oh, no, it's not that lengthy. All right. David recounts the wonders and miracles to God the miracles God performed for Israel in the past. He calls the nations of the world to recognize them as God's handiwork and accept God as ruler of the universe. Lam Natseach again, Shir Mizmor. To the chief musician a song, a psalm. Shout to God all the earth. Sing to the glory of his name. Make glorious his praise. Say to God, how awe-inspiring are your works. Through the greatness of your might, they have deceived you. Those who are your enemies, those who oppose you. All the earth will prostrate themselves in worship to you, and they will sing praises to you. They will sing praises to your name, Selah. Go and see the works of God, awe-inspiring in his acts towards the sons of man. He turned the sea into dry land. Through the river they passed on foot. There we rejoiced in him. He rules the world by his might. His eyes keep watch upon nations. The rebellious, let them not exalt themselves. Selah. Bless peoples our God, and let the voice of his praise be heard. He set our soul in life and does not allow our feet to slip. For you tried us, God, you refined us as if refining silver. You brought us into closed quarters. You put a constraint upon our loins. You made mortal man ride over our heads. We went through fire and water, and you brought us out to abundance. I will enter your house with burnt offerings. I will pay you my vows, that which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken in my distress. Burnt offerings of fat animals I will offer up to you. With the burning of rams I will offer bullocks with goats, Selah. Go and hearken, and I will declare to all who fear God what he has done for my soul. Unto him with my mouth I called, and exaltation was beneath my tongue. Even had I perceived iniquity in my heart, my master would not have listened. But God has heard, he has hearkened to the voice of my prayer. Blessed is God, who has not turned away my prayer, nor his kindness from me.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're interesting. I mean, they really are.
Mhm.
All kinds of different emotions and thoughts about relating to the divine, to what that means. Okay, we will move into the text. I will make sure I have a text for you. Here goes. All right. Okay, here we are. So, so we read the verse yesterday. Aseh lecha teva, make an ark or a container for yourself. Atzei gopher of gopher wood. Kinim, compartments. Ta'aseh et hateva. You should make the container with compartments. V'chafarta ota mibayit u'michutz b'kofer, and you shall cover it with on the inside and the outside with pitch. Some lovely, memorable Rashi's coming up here. Okay, here we are. Right. Aseh lecha teva. Make for yourself a, a container. Habe revach hatzala lefanav. There's many, okay, revach would be ease, hatzala would be save, to be able to save. So in other words, there are many ways for God to save before him. The lama, so what's the question? We'll get to it. So why the lama hitrichu the vinyan zeh? Why did he put Noah to all this kind of trouble to make the ark? Why? I mean, God has other ways that are far less uh, difficult for Noah to have to do. And here's the answer: Kidei sheyiruhu anshe dor hamabul, that the people of the generation of the flood should see him, or sekba, occupying himself in it, in the construction of the ark, kuch shana, for 120 years. That's how they figure, based on the chronology in the Torah, how long it took Noah to build the ark. 120 years. Vishu'alin oto, and they're curious. What's he doing? They would ask him, Shu'alim oto, Mazot lacha, what are you up to? What is this to you? Who omer lahem, and it gives him an opportunity to say to them, Atid HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahavi mabul la'olam. In the future, the Holy One, blessed be He, will bring a flood to the world. Ulai yashuvu. Perhaps they will repent. Interesting. I mean, just the thought. And I have to tell you, as I've gotten older, I realize how stubborn we can get. And frankly, it makes what you want to do is at least create the possibility, right? I mean, it's a basic principle that you have to give people a chance to change, even if the probabilities are very slim. So, for example, in business, right, if you have an employee that isn't doing their work properly, obviously it can't be something that's, you know, uh, a major crime, a criminal act. But if they're not working properly, they're not working up to snuff, you don't just fire them. You try to tell them what are the consequences of their behavior so that they can do it. And then if they choose not to listen, then you have a right to fire them. But if
But
you don't,
also
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
within yourself, also, that if you have such stubbornness that you can't model this ability to change, then you can't model it even for those who work, in quotation marks, for you.
I agree. I agree. Look, that is leadership, right? If you don't model the behavior yourself, you have no right to demand it of others. So, and in fact, frankly, I don't know a better way, even though it doesn't necessarily work at all, sadly. You can model the good behavior. It doesn't mean that people will pay attention. But you at least have a hope. You at least have to make the possibility there. So I'd say gopher wood. Kach shamo, that happens to be its name. That's what it's called. Called gopher wood. Like hickory or cherry or oak, it's gopher. The lama mininze, and why of this type? Why this specific wood? The Torah is getting pretty specific as to what wood to choose. Al Shem Gofrit. It's based on this word gofrit, which means sulfur. So I'd say gopher, and there's sulfur. Shenigzar alehem lehamchot bo. I think is going to be the way you point, unless it's a nifal, because it was decreed upon them by that they would be wiped out through sulfur. And again, the question that we might want to ask ourselves is, what's significant about sulfur that is sort of seen as the way in which people are destroyed? And I think just in terms of a fairly obvious one is that sulfur smells. Okay, it doesn't have a good smell. And people's bad behavior, there are many examples of how bad behavior is considered putrid. So the idea of bad smell along with bad behavior is.
But what does sulfur have to do with any kind of wood or with blotting things out?
Okay, good, very good question. So what I made, the sense that I made out of it, Lauren, is that the wood was able to withstand the heat and the destructive qualities of the sulfur. In other words, it was called gofrit because it was able to withstand the effects of the sulfur. That's the connection. Unless, and there's another possibility that just occurred to me this second, which is if the people were asking about it, then it was an allusion to how they would be destroyed. That's another possibility, going from a davar acher kind of point of view. Inim. So this is not a common word. As I said, generally the word kain kufnun means a nest, like a bird's nest. And he says madorim, like cabins. L'chol behema, l'chaya, for each one of the animals, for the cattle and the wild beasts, that they would be put in cages. Although mador is not a cage, it's a word that simply means a place to live. Okay. Going on. V'zeh asher ta'aseoto, and this is the way in which you shall make it. Shlosh me'ot ama orech hateva. The length of the container, 300 cubits. And a cubit, a good sort of rule of thumb is a cubit is a foot and a half, 18 inches. So in other words, it would be 450 feet long. Kamishim ama rochba, 50 cubits its width. Ushloshim ama kumata, and 30 cubits its height. Pretty big container. Yes, it was the original container ship. There we are, looking to see if, oh, sorry, I had more Rashi to do, and I didn't realize. The kofir, right, it's pitch. Zefet Galashon Arami. So he's saying I think, the word kofir is in Hebrew zefet. In other words, kofir is zefet in the Aramaic language. Umatzinu begamara kufra. So this would definitely be an Aramaism, right? We find the word in the Gemara kufra, referring to pitch. B'tevato shel Moshe, and in the little container of Moses, remember, he was also put into a much smaller teva to be set on the river Nile, on that water. Al yedei shehayu hamayim tashim, and somehow or other, this word that, look at what happened here. Can you see what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea it was doing this.
Just click outside of that.
I don't know what happened there. Let me
click outside of it.
No, I want to make it smaller, but somehow or other, I lost the translation and the reference to Jethro. Anyway, the word means weak, and that's here, over here. And I don't know what happened. I tried to Command Z, but it didn't do anything.
What word means weak?
Yeah, Tashim. And then I had a reference in Jastra. Okay. Because the waters were weak, Daya bechomer mibifnim, it was enough to put slime in the inside, the zephet mibachutz, and pitch on the outside, tar on the outside. The od, and another reason, kedei shelo yariach otot tzaddik, that righteous person, meaning Moses, baby Moses, should not smell reach ra, a bad odor, shel zephet, of pitch, of tar, of alkan, but in our case here, mipnei chozek hamayim, because the waters were very powerful, zifta mibayit umichutz. You had to put pitch on the inside and on the outside. So there's something sort of lovely about noticing the distinction, right? And as I think I've mentioned before, that one of the beauties of good biblical commentary is noticing things that we might not notice, like a good mystery solver, like a good detective. Oh, let's go on. We did this. Okay, there's no Rashi on this. Sohar ta'aseh la teva. So this word sohar is not an easy word to translate. It's not a common word. It could be related to the word zohar, which means brightness, right? So something bright, ta'aseh la teva, you should make for the ark. The el ama techalena, and you should complete it to a cubit, milmala on top. Again, all this sort of begging for Rashi to explain what's going on here. So there are three different things we're reading about. The Tzohar, we're talking about the fact that that the top part needs to end with a cubit. Ufeta hateva, and the entrance of the ark, Vitzida tasim, you shall make it, you shall put it on the side of the ark, Vitzida, on its side. And then the next thing, tachtiim, bottom, shniyim, second, ushlosh, ushlishim, and third stories. There's not, that's understood. First, second, and third stories, ta'aseh, you shall make. So they should make the ark with 3 floors. Remember, it's 30 cubits apiece, so maybe each of them was 10 cubits high, although that's awfully high. I don't know, I guess to accommodate the giraffe. But anyway, we're going to look at the Rashi. Here we go. Sohar, this is the word. He moves zeros right into it. Yesh omrim, there are those who interpret it as chalon, as a window. Something obviously that will admit light. Okay, that's why I'm saying this word sohar, which is probably related to the word zohar. The Yeshomrim, and there are those who say, Even Tova, it was a precious stone, a me'ira lahem, that somehow gave off light for them. And he just gives you the citation for that. Bereshit Rabbah Sham. It's in Bereshit Rabbah that they explain it this way. So it's either a window or a precious stone that is capable of sparkling, I guess, and giving off light. The elama techalena milmala, and to a cubit you shall complete it on the top. This is what it means. Isuya, its covering, mishupa, was sloping the ola ad shehu katsar, and it goes up narrowing, up to a point of being narrow, milamala, on the top. The omed al ama, until it's just 1 cubit, 18 inches separating. So it wasn't a point. Okay? The top didn't come to a point, but it came to a flat piece that was a cubit wide. So it's giving you this, visualization of what the ark looked like. It had a covering, there was sloping covering today, so that Yasheyazuvu Hamayim, that the water should flow lamata, down. It should flow down. And this says, I think this stands for Sfarim Acherim Omrim, possibly, that other manuscripts say Mikan Umikan, from one side and the other. That when the rain came down, it would flow off the roof on either side. And I have to tell you, I believe that there is a special place in hell for the person who invented flat roofs, because I'm telling you, we have major problems with our roof at the synagogue. But I remember other places that had flat roofs and they were constantly leaking, and trying to figure out where they're leaking. Okay. Betzidat tasim, you shall place it on the side. This is referring to the opening. Shelo yiplu hagashamim ba, so that the rain doesn't fall into it. Tachtiyim, Shniyim, Shlushim, first, or lower, second and third stories. So, Shlosha Aliyot, so in other words, 3 floors or 3 stories. Zo al gav zo, one above the other. Elyonim, the upper story, la'adam, for human beings, for people. Emtsayim, the middle ones, the mador, that is a place for the animals. Tachtiyim lezevel, and the bottom is for the dung, would be where the dung fell. Okay. Va'ani, this is, remember, God is instructing Noah how to build the ark. Va'ani, oops, sorry, where are we?
Yeah, that's the next verse.
No, yeah, there we go. Va'ani, as for me, hineni, behold, I may be in bringing et hamabul, the mabul, mayim, and what is the mabul? The flood waters, al haaretz, upon the earth. So you can see, remember how I mentioned how water is an instrument of divine judgment. And here we have a super example of that. But to recognize that rain, water, etc., is an instrument of divine judgment. The shachet, to destroy, kol basar, all flesh, asher bo ruach hayim, in which is the breath of life, mitachat hashamayim, below the heavens. Kol asher ba'aretz, everything on the land, yigva, will die, will perish. So let's. Va'ani hineni mavi, and as for me, I am bringing. Hineni, for my part, on my part, Muchan, I am ready, lahaskim, to agree, im otam, with those. It's referring to angels. It says, let us make man in our image and likeness back in Genesis, remember? And one of the interpretations as to why it's in the plural, doesn't say, let me make, it says, let us, is that God was consulting with the angels and saying, should I do this? And you're coming to them and saying, let's do this. And there were those, Shizarzuni, who tried to influence me, who encouraged me, I suppose would be a lovely way to translate this, with those angels who encouraged me by the Amru, by saying, Bifnei Lefanai Kfar, who said, Amru Lefanai, and said to me earlier on already, and this is from Psalm 8, Ma enosh, what is man, ki tizkarenu, that you should think of him. So in other words, I'm ready to destroy human beings. So this is this story, I think, is commenting and trying to deal with the issue of human frailty and the evil that is there within human beings. That you look at a human being, you recognize that human beings are capable of so much, and yet they are involved in wickedness. And philosophically, what's going on? Why is this the case? And in fact, I think it's even trying to say that that human beings, on one sense, don't deserve to live. That it's a comment. And I will explain to you, there's very often a misunderstanding of the nature of the rainbow. I'm not anticipating us getting to that in this week, so I'm going to tell you right now, the rainbow is there. If you look at the context of the rainbow, you recognize that the rainbow, God puts the rainbow, creates the rainbow to remind him not to destroy the earth and not to destroy human beings. So the implication of that is, if God needs the rainbow to remind him not to destroy human beings, clearly at that particular point, when you see a rainbow, you should know that at that particular point, were it not for the rainbow,
you might want to do it.
Correct. Correct. And sorry, I keep doing that. And one of the problems is that we don't recognize our own, the degree to which human beings are not doing the right thing. Are cruel and cheat and rob and steal and act perversely and all this kind of stuff.
There's
The
one more
behavior.
Rashi
Yeah.
here.
Go ahead.
I
You
said
want
there's one more Rashi here. Do we want to do it?
It's 7:57. I can save this for tomorrow. Let's stop there. It's a good comment, so let's save it for there, and I'll just put it there. Put a little marker in there, and I'm going to stop the share. All right. So you have 2 minutes in which to make comments before we need to get started. So any reactions?
I was just cracking up when you said about the flat roof.
Yeah. Yes. I know. It's from experience, I'm afraid.
But I also know about the rainbow. Not only is I liked your commentary, but I also want to say that it represents hope.
Yes, it does. Hope on the divine part. Hope that God will forgive us. And here again, that space, the reason for it is to remind us, because if you don't realize you're making a mistake or that humanity is on the wrong track, then they're not going to change. Again, the possibility that God, in a sense, out of love and generosity, is giving us an opportunity to recognize, that we really need to look into ourselves and do tshuva. And this is why the whole concept of tshuva is so terribly important.
Oh, well, and also if we don't follow the laws of nature, we're not going to see a rainbow.
Well, yeah, okay. Meaning, what are you trying to say? Tell me.
The source of all,
yes,
is not going to work with humanity.
mm-hmm.
The source of all could possibly work without humanity, without a rainbow.
Right.
We go through dark ages or extreme heat and never see a rainbow, and poof, we could be gone.
Yeah. True. Yeah. No, you're right. Remember, we were asked when human beings were originally created and put in the Garden of Eden, it was for the sake of tending it and guarding it. And that is still the case with this world that we're living. So I'm going to say farewell. I'm going to hope that I can put this recording on Facebook, etc. And so I'm going to say farewell to our friends and stop recording. Ad machar, hopefully